Hello and welcome back to another episode of Casual Audio Papers. This is actually going to be a little bit different from some of the previous ones. In the past, I've done my own little perusing about the Project Implicit website, which is one of the primary methods of obtaining implicit bias data. Using what's called the implicit association test. And so I just wanted to show you guys how it works. It is free. You can join. What I have just done is I've entered my registration information with the Church of the Former-day Saints email. And so I'm just going to take a little bit of time and explore with you guys, and you can see how it works. So this is the consent form, and it answers a couple basic questions. The researcher is Jenna Swart and Yi Chung Kuo. This experiment will not run properly on a touchscreen device, unfortunately. So question 1. What should I know about a research study? This form will explain this research study to you. Whether or not you take part is up to you. Your participation is completely voluntary. You can choose not to take part. You can agree to take part and later change your mind. Your decision will not be held against you. Your refusal to participate will not result in any consequences or any loss of benefits that you are otherwise entitled to receive. Question 2. What is the purpose of this research? The purpose of this study is to examine the impact of assimilation cultures with respect to immigrants and how people receive immigrants. So this is actually really interesting because what I did was I just pressed on, I didn't even choose which study to participate in, but what I did do is I pressed the registration thing, and I guess it brought me into the implicit bias for or against immigrants study. How long will I take part in this research? The whole study will take no more than 15 minutes. What can I expect if I take part in this research? The whole study will be conducted online. In this study, there will be a total 3 blocks. First block, you complete a set of questionnaires. Second block, we will present a short description of an immigrant and a survey regarding the description you read. Third block, there will be a decision-making task and a survey regarding your attitudes. At the end, you will be given information regarding the purpose of the study. What are the risks and possible discomforts? There is a potential of evoking personal negative experiences of visa denial or the immigration process. However, the risk is minimal. If you do not wish to continue, so basically a trigger warning, you are free to withdraw at any time by exiting your browser. Are there any benefits from being in this research study? You will get to see your implicit bias score at the end of the experiment, my personal one, along with information about what it means. The results may be surprising and different from your conscious attitudes, which is the whole point of implicit bias, because it's, by definition, not conscious. In addition, the scientific knowledge will benefit from a greater understanding of individual attitudes for future studies. Will I be compensated for participating in this research? Unfortunately, no. If I take part in this research, will my privacy be protected? What happens to the information that is collected? Well, in this particular case, my privacy won't be protected. But normally they have this whole tracking system that protects privacy and everything. It's never disclosed or shared with any third party, etc. And who can I talk to? I can talk to these people. I agree to participate. Now what happens? I agree. There we go. This section will take approximately 15 minutes to complete. Many people may be tempted to visit other web pages while taking the study. If many people browse other pages or do other things during the study data will not be usable. Our research depends on good quality data, so please make sure you are willing to sit through the study before starting it. I think the first time I perused around the Implicit Bias website, I was here for like 2 hours. That's not going to happen this time. If you would like to participate, please type this exact sentence into the box below. I will complete this study with my full attention, and then press submit. Oh, period. Shaking hands with a stranger who has sweaty palms. I would say I'm disgusted. Am I disgusted? Somewhat. I'd say slightly. I'm not all that much. Seeing a cockroach run across the floor is very gross. Seeing some mold on old leftovers in your refrigerator. I'm a bit more used to that. Standing close to a person who has body odor. Somewhat. Moderate, I guess. Stepping on dog poop. I'd say moderate. Strongly. I'll go with strongly. Sitting next to someone who has red sores on their arm. Somewhat, I guess. Moderate? Somewhat. I'll go with somewhat. Accidentally touching a person's bloody cut. I honestly don't have a lot of experience with that one. So, I don't know. I'll go with somewhat. Please indicate how much you agree with the following statement. It does not make me anxious to be around sick people. I moderately agree with that. It does not. I prefer to wash my hands pretty soon after shaking someone's hand. I actually don't think about it, so it really bothers me when people sneeze without covering their mouth. I don't think much about it. I do not like to write with a pencil someone else has obviously chewed on. It's a little gross. My hands do not feel dirty after touching money. I don't think I've ever felt that feeling. I avoid using public telephones because of the risk that I may catch something from the previous user. I have never had to use a public telephone. I dislike wearing used clothes because you don't know what the past person who wore it was like. I have almost always worn used clothes. I'm comfortable sharing a water bottle with a friend. It depends. Really, that really just... I slightly disagree. I would try to avoid using public toilets in developing foreign countries because of the risk that I may catch something from the previous user. I'm a guy. I have almost no risk of that, so I'm going to go with neither agree nor disagree. I would be comfortable eating street food in a developing foreign country. Probably not. I would be comfortable sharing a water bottle with a stranger from developing foreign countries. Same, probably not. I would use hand sanitizer often in a developing foreign country. I don't know about that one. No one group should dominate in society. That is a very loaded question. Define a group. Do you mean a racial group, an ethnic group, or a cultural group, or a religious group? I'm Christian, so obviously I think Christians should dominate in society. But I'm going to go with neither agree nor disagree, because I have no idea what that question means. We should do what we can to equalize conditions for different groups. Same thing as the last question. I assume they're talking about racial groups or minority, I don't know. I have no idea. Group equality should not be our primary goal. Well, what is group equality? What does that mean? I'll slightly agree to that one. An ideal society requires some groups to be on top and others to be on the bottom. Well, again, in an ideal society, well, in every society, including in an ideal society, there's going to be some group at the top that's called the government. So, I would say I moderately agree with that one. Groups at the bottom are just as deserving as groups at the top. Deserving of what? Deserving of what? Groups at the bottom are just as deserving as groups at the top. Slightly agree. We should work to give all groups an equal chance to succeed. I strongly agree with that. Whatever that means. It is unjust to try to make groups equal. Unjust? It depends. What are you doing to try to make groups equal? I'll go with slightly disagree on that one. Because it just depends. Some groups of people are simply inferior to other groups. Depends on your definition of inferior. If you're talking in terms of money, there are definitely certain groups who are economically inferior to others. By definition of certain groups being in poverty. And then of course there are certain groups that, like there's an entire group of below average IQ. Like that's a group. But then of course they probably have some superiority in some other way. Hopefully, I would think. But then again, I don't know what the data is on that. I'm going to go with neither agree. I'm going to go with slightly agree. What our country needs most is discipline, with everyone following our leaders in unity. Depends on the leader, I guess. I'm going to go with unsure or neutral. It's great that many young people today are prepared to defy authority. I'm going to go slightly disagree on that one. The facts on crime and the recent public disorders shows we have to crack down harder on troublemakers if we are going to preserve law and order. I'm going to go with somewhat agree on that one. There's nothing wrong with premarital sexual intercourse. I'm going to go with strongly disagree on that one. God's laws about abortion, pornography, and marriage must be strictly followed before it is too late. I'm going to go very strongly agree on that one. Our society does not need a tougher government and stricter laws. Does not? And tougher government, stricter laws. You know, this is a conundrum for a conservative. Because stricter laws, I presume, is like saying we want to crack down on more petty crimes, but then tougher government. Those are two things, or one thing that a conservative loves and one thing that a conservative hates. I'm going to go with slightly disagree on that one. Okay, please read the story carefully, as you will be asked a few questions about it afterwards. Muhammad is a young man who is coming to your country in the hope of finding a better life here. In general, he feels that your country is very different from the one he comes from. He is going to do his very best to hold on to the values and traditions of his home country, even if this means he cannot completely adjust and fit in here. Muhammad is part of a 2-week government integration program. Within the program, he will be living in a secure isolation facility with no physical contact with any other individual. There will be scheduled video calls to provide assistance with setting up a bank account, social security number. Social events will also be scheduled over video call for Muhammad to get to know citizens of the new community. Each day, a volunteer from the community will provide Muhammad with lunch and dinner, which will be delivered via a double-door lock system. That seems excessive. Isn't he just in prison? That seems really excessive. To what degree do you think Muhammad will adopt your country's traditions and customs? Well, if he was coming here, he probably wants to some degree, even though some of the traditions and customs he wants to maintain from his own country. So I would say probably mostly. How likely do you think Muhammad will transmit diseases from his home country during the 2-week government integration period? Well, considering he's in a cell, probably 0. Also, I don't know. Are there a lot of diseases in the Middle East? I'm going to go with low probability. During the 2-week government integration period, how much time do you think Muhammad spends in places where people who grew up in your country spend their time? What? Like Starbucks, you mean? Little time? Oh, wait. During the 2-week government integration program. 0. Oh, wait. Does this include people in prison? Very little time. Next, we will ask you a few general questions about yourself. There are 4 questions in this section. Please indicate a country of origin. United States of America. Think of this ladder as representing where people stand in your country. At the top of the ladder are those who are the best off, those who have the most money, the most education, the most respected jobs. At the bottom are the people who are the worst off, who have the least money, least education, and least respected jobs or no jobs. The higher up you are on this ladder, the closer you are to the people at the very top. The lower you are, the closer you are to the people at the very bottom. Where would you place yourself on this ladder? Select the number below that represents the wrong step where you think you stand at this time in your life relative to other people in your country. 7? I kind of feel like I'm a 7. Click on the gray line to indicate your judgment. After clicking the line, you can slide the circle to choose the exact judgment. Social issues: abortion, gun control, gay rights. I like how all of them are just like one bag. Sorry, libertarians. Probably this one right there. Yeah, I'm probably right there. Taxation, government spending. Probably right there as well. Okay. Imagine that someday in the future your government decides to outlaw immigrant-run organizations and requests all citizens to do their best to make sure that the law has a successful effect. I would tell my friend it is a good law. Immigrant-run organizations. Immigrant-run organizations. Like what kind of immigrant-run organizations? It seems too broad. That would be a bad law. It needs to be a lot more specific and needs to have good reasons for it. Strongly disagree. No, I'm going to moderately disagree because I don't know about the situation. Imagine that someday in the future your government decides to outlaw... I would tell the police about any members of immigrant organizations that I knew. I'm not a narc. I would help hunt down members of immigrant organizations and turn them over to the police. I don't even have the energy for that, even if I believed in it. I would support the use of physical violence to make members of an immigrant organization reveal the identity of other immigrants. Sorry, but as a Jew, that seems really bad. There's too many memories there. I would participate in attacks on immigrant headquarters if supervised by the proper authorities. Jeez, no, I'm not a socialist, sorry. I would support the execution of... No, what the heck is this? Please indicate how much you agree or disagree with the following statement. I would support policies that would allow people like Muhammad to immigrate to my country. I don't know anything about Muhammad. I'm sorry. He obviously wants to integrate a little bit, but he doesn't want to a degree. He's seeking a better life. Yeah, I would say strongly agree. Immigrants like Muhammad create problems for our society. Well, like what kind of problems? Obviously, the lack of integration that he wants might to some degree create some problems, but I don't think that they're problems that are really existential. Plus, that has nothing to do with the right to be the right to immigrate here. So, I mean, obviously more people creates problems, but I don't know. I'll slightly agree to that. Muhammad is the type of immigrant I would welcome to my country. I don't know anything about Muhammad. I'll slightly agree, because that's just neutral. I would oppose people like Muhammad immigrating to my country. I don't know. Slightly disagree. People like Muhammad make our country worse. This is taking a lot more than 15 minutes. What's wrong with Muhammad? I don't know. Can't tell. Who is he? Who is Muhammad? I feel positive about people like Muhammad immigrating to my country. I don't care about him. You will play the role of immigration officer for the Department of Citizenship and Immigration Services to issue a legal visa to future immigrants. It is up to you to decide who to accept and who to reject. It is your job to try and select the most qualified candidates. Each applicant will have 4 pieces of information. English proficiency. Number 1, English proficiency. The applicant's English language level out of 100%, evaluated during the initial round of the application process. 2, health status. The applicant's overall quality of immune system, awful, bad, good, or excellent, evaluated in general medical examination during the initial round of the application process. 2, again, likelihood to assimilate. The applicant's willingness to fully incorporate into the new society, like adopt country's traditions and customs, rated out of 4, evaluated during government integration program. And 4, likelihood of contact with locals. The applicant's willingness to being active in local areas like community centers, gym, and watching matches in local bar, rated out of 4, evaluated during government integration program. Importantly, the Department of Citizenship and Immigration Services is looking for well-rounded applicants, so consider each of the 4 applications equally when you make your decision. Finally, you need to reject about half of the applicants. Keep that in mind as you make decisions. Why? Now, is this how it works? Is our government just giving people a bunch of these things and saying, you have to reject half of these, but it's going to appear for 1 second? Is that how it works? First, you will be shown each applicant very briefly. You do not have to do anything for this section. Okay. Okay. Wait, excellent. That's excellent. Okay, all of these goods are excellent, 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 good, 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 good. All of these guys seem pretty good. I guess it would just be a likelihood to assimilate an English proficiency that you would really be looking at. I am not going to be able to choose because are these cycling through? Are these all the same? No, I don't think so. I think these are 60 different people. I have to deny 30 of them. Okay. All of these guys are in pretty much excellent condition or good health condition. So it's going to be a measure of the other 3. Okay. You will see each of the 48 applicants one at a time. Please consider each of the 4 qualifications equally when you make the decision. So health status is a non-condition in this instance. English proficiency, likelihood to assimilate, and likelihood of contact with locals. I think these two are likelihood to assimilate and likelihood of contact with the locals is pretty much the same question. So I'm going to judge those as the same. So it's really English proficiency, and I don't even think likelihood to assimilate is a question, because likelihood of contact with the locals is the definition of assimilation. So it's going to be based on English proficiency and likelihood of contact with locals, 1 and 4. Continue. Okay, wait. E. If it should be rejected, it should be E key. If he should be accepted, it should be the I key. Okay. Reject, accept. Reject. Should I? That's even worse. Okay, that's pretty good. No. No. Yes. No. Yes. No. 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 Yes. 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 No. Yes. No. 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 Yes. No. Yes. Nope. Nope. Yes. Nope. Ah, darn it. Yes. 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 Nope. Yes. Nope. Nope. Yes. Nope. 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 Oh, whoops, that should have been a yes. Yes, yes, yes. No. Yes. No. That should have been a yes. That one should have been a no. Darn it. Okay. Which statement best describes your performance on the task? I was extremely easier on traditionally Western names. I didn't even look at the names, by the way. And tougher on traditionally non-Western named applicants. I was moderately easier. I didn't look at the names, so that's not gonna work. I would say I treated the names equally. How you want to perform. I don't care about those. I like people with traditionally Western names and non-Western names equally. Okay. Now, bear in mind, I didn't look at the names, so this was purely, all of these decisions were purely based on their English proficiency and their likelihood to assimilate. And it was actually primarily based on English proficiency, because I didn't look down at willingness to assimilate all that often, and then there are also a few that I made a mistake on. So, the decision-making task you just took is called the judgment bias task. You approved or denied visa applications using the information profiles provided. Now, if that is our immigration system, I would say that's a crappy system. Because why? Just why? Why? Well, it would not work. That would be horrible. Okay. In the JBT, you decided whether to approve or decline a visa for each profile. You were instructed to only accept half of the candidates. The candidates had varying ratings for each criteria, with half being slightly superior than others, based on an average of the 4 scores. Within these 2 groups, higher versus lower overall scores, half were individuals with traditionally Western names, which I didn't look at. The other half were candidates with traditionally non-Western names. By comparing the approval/disapproval rates for the entire candidate group, we can see if participants in the study are more likely to accept candidates with lower overall scores if they have a Western name. It is not so easy to tell what is influencing judgment when we have to make lots of decisions with complicated information. Efforts to be accurate or fair may not be enough to override a pre-existing bias favoring one quality compared to another. Alternatively, decision makers may overcorrect for a bias and actually end up favoring certain groups unintentionally. Here are your results on the decision-making task. When applicants had higher overall scores, you correctly accepted 7 out of 12 of the applicants with traditionally Western names, and correctly accepted 8 out of the 12 of the applicants with traditionally non-Western names. When applicants had lower overall scores, you correctly rejected 7 out of the 12 of the applicants with traditionally Western names and correctly rejected 10 out of 12 of the applicants with traditionally non-Western names. Disclaimer. Now this is actually really important because this disclaimer is at the end of pretty much every single one of these tests. It says, these results are not a definitive assessment of your implicit preference. The results may be influenced by variables related to the test, like the category labels or particular items used to represent the categories on the JBT or the person, like how tired you are. The results are provided for educational purposes only. Now, the reason that's really important is because implicit bias studies use a lot of these. And let's see, there's one actually here, breaking the prejudice habit. What it uses here is, where is it? Okay. It says, intergroup inequality is a ubiquitous problem with minorities facing disparities in a variety of consequential domains from the allocation of medical care. One potential contributor to these problems is implicit bias. Theorized to influence behavior despite countervailing intervention or intentions, implicit bias has... Okay. The specter of unintentional discrimination has inspired widespread calls from researcher scholars. That's the wrong one. Okay, the prejudice habit breaking intervention contrasts with many of these other interventions in that it was explicitly developed to produce enduring change. The habit breaking intervention is based on the prejudice habit model, which proposes that enduring change in biases, such as implicit bias that occur unintentionally, can be achieved by treating unintentional bias as an unwanted habit that can be broken through a combination of motivation, awareness, and effort. This multifaceted intervention was designed to address a number of common stumbling blocks on the path to change. Using a semi-interactive slideshow, the prejudice habit-breaking intervention navigates people around these stumbling blocks by providing education about the existence, origins, and consequences of unintentional bias, and teaches them evidence-based strategies to overcome bias. This presentation provokes awareness by giving participants feedback about their own level of implicit bias as measured by the implicit association test, which means if the implicit association test itself says that this should not be used to determine one's own implicit biases, and then let's say this paper utilizes the implicit association tests as a measure for somebody's implicit bias, what that means is this paper, the methodology is faulty. Now, what this says is they're influenced by variables related to the tests. They may be influenced by a variety of them, or the person, meaning there are too many confounding variables to really say definitively that this test does anything or it measures anything, which is what one of the papers I want to read to you guys in the future actually says, is the studies and the tests, although they say that they've measured something, they have not actually defined what the thing is that they're measuring, and the confounding variables are too severe to actually be measuring anything. And so that's what this disclaimer is saying. And with that said, it should be known and noted that implicit association or studies based on the implicit association test should not be held or should not be taken as seriously as, let's say, other explicit bias tests, for example, or studies based on explicit bias. It's just good science. What was this study about? The study examined explicit and implicit attitudes about immigrants and the different factors driving the so the difference between explicit and implicit would be like my self-report about different immigrant attitudes and all that sort of stuff. That's an explicit bias, or an explicit attitude. And if I know and I say that I don't like people with sweaty hands or sweaty palms, then that's an explicit bias against people with sweaty palms. If I say that I like people with sweaty palms, but then reel in horror every time I touch somebody's palm and it's sweaty, that's an implicit bias that has affected my behavior. Or if I examine people's hands too much, just unknowingly, or create in my mind some sort of test to determine ahead of time whether or not it's a relevant test, to determine ahead of time whether or not somebody has sweaty palms, and then refuse to shake people's hands if I determine ahead of time that they do have sweaty palms. That would be an implicit bias. If all of that happens under my consciousness, like I don't know that it's happening. And so that's why the definition of implicit bias is that it is not an explicit bias. I don't know that I have it, but it might affect my behavior. And that's why tests like this that studies explicit and implicit bias oftentimes don't really, they don't test the same thing apples to apples. They test, let's say, self-report versus the strange test where I had to read the name and then all the other things, but then I had to do it as quickly as possible based on visa acceptance or whatever. And what studies have found, like meta-analyses have found, is that there is actually not a whole lot of congruence between explicit and implicit biases. Meaning, implicit biases don't predict behavior like explicit biases do. And it has not been demonstrated that people with implicit biases in one way or another do not know that they have those biases, which is an issue just definitionally, because if people know about their biases and then you test and find out that they have implicit biases about the biases that they know about, then that's definitionally not an implicit bias. Okay, what was this study about? The study explained explicit and implicit attitudes about immigrants and the different factors driving the likelihood of hostility towards immigrants. Numerous studies indicate that political partisanship and ideologies are the underlying factors of animosity toward immigration, which not only have a direct impact on government immigration policy, but also indirectly influences individual attitudes. Most importantly, emotional distress in situations with a high potential for pathogen transmission, as well as feelings of disgust, might predict anger toward immigrants, which can be observed in the COVID-19 outbreak. For instance, increases in Asians being attacked in the US at the beginning of the pandemic. Additionally, the JBT has been used to demonstrate that discrimination in social judgments occurs through various mechanisms, and that effective intervention to minimize discrimination can aim to reduce either inaccuracy or prejudice in perception, which may alleviate negative feelings toward prospective immigrants. Understanding the underlying causes of immigrant prejudice will have significant implications following the COVID-19 pandemic and may provide novel perspective on social conflicts. How does the JBT work? The JBT assesses social tolerance. Each applicant's criteria scores were combined to determine their overall score. Half of the applicants had higher overall scores than the other half. We divided applicants evenly between traditional Western names, Oliver Morris, and non-Western names, Zaroon Faraj. People may be more tolerant of incoming immigrants that they perceive to be more similar to themselves, like participants in the study of with a Western name may be more tolerant of an immigrant with a Western name due to their perceived similarities of Western cultural backgrounds. Now that's true. You want to be around people who are like you, and you want a country to be influenced by people that you think will influence it in the right direction. And so, for instance, Zarun Faraj sounds like an Indian name, let's say, and Oliver Morris, it just sounds like a white name. So Zarun Faraj, if I like Indians and I have a particular perception of Indians and I read that name and I'm like, that sounds like an Indian name, I'd be like, yeah, I like him, bring him in, and that sort of thing. And then Oliver Morris, I'm just like, I don't feel threatened by that or excited about that in any way. He just sounds like another white guy, so I'm like, okay, whatever, let him in, whatever. And so that's sort of what the JBT is attempting to study. This may occur even when a Western named applicant and a non-Western named applicant have the same overall qualities. Consequently, those participants may accept less qualified applications if they're paired with a Western name. The JBT is a new measure, but it may not predict an individual's behavior well. And that's one of the particularly important things to understand from this is it has been shown that it does not predict individual behavior well. It's slightly better than random, in other words. Okay, and if you have any questions, if you want to ask Brian O'Shea, anything like this, you can talk to him. Okay, next study. Okay, so this one's supposed to take 12 minutes. Considering the last one took half an hour and it's supposed to take 15 minutes, I'm going to assume this one takes 24 minutes. Okay, 2 categorization tasks. I don't know what this one is going to be about, so let's agree to it. In this study, there will be a decision-making task and a survey regarding your attitudes. At the end, you will be given information regarding the purpose of the study. This study should take less than 10 minutes to complete. Press the button below to begin the decision-making task. Let's go! Okay, this time I'm going to play the role of selection committee member for an academic honor society. It is up to you to decide who to accept and who to reject. It is your job to try and select the most qualified candidates. Each applicant will have 4 pieces of information: science GPA, humanities GPA, letters of recommendation, poor, fair, good, or excellent, and interview score. The interview score is out of 100 that the applicant received during the initial round of the application process. What's an interview score? Okay. Importantly, this academic honor society is looking for well-rounded applicants, so consider each of the 4 qualifications equally when you make your decision. Finally, you need to reject about half of the applicants. Keep that in mind as you make decisions. So same thing basically. This honor society, I suppose I would have... This one does seem a bit more rounded because I don't know how I would weight these otherwise. Letter of recommendation and the interview score. Basically, the interview score is how well the honor society themselves sees this person, how qualified they see this person, and the letter of recommendation is how qualified this person is perceived by someone I don't know. Humanities GPA and science GPA, English, foreign languages, etc., biology or chemistry. That one's interesting because I do like both of those, but I think, I don't know. We'll see. I have a hard time determining which ones of those. I'm supposed to weight them equally, but that just doesn't happen. You will start with some practice trials. In the practice trials, you will view mock profiles to help you get acquainted with the task. After each decision, you will be asked to type a sentence about why you accepted or rejected the candidate. Okay. 3, 3.4, good, 90. He seems good. 3, that's a B. That's actually not that great. Humanities, 3.4, but that's slightly more than a B. It's a B plus. Interview score is 90. I'm going more on the recommendation and the interview score then, I suppose. Okay, excellent. Interview score 70. So he was just not that great at talking. I would accept him. Science is 3.6. Humanities 3.2. I think I need to narrow this down. They're gonna have a GPA of at least 3.5 and 3.5 in one of these and 3 in the other one in order to pass, and they're gonna have at least a 70 in their interview score. So I'm gonna reject this one. Bad. Okay. Yep, reject. I'll accept that one. This one's an excellent one. Everything. This one's tentative, isn't it? If they're 3.5 in one, well, I guess by my criteria, I should accept this one too. Tentatively. Also tentative, but good science. Oh, this is great. Excellent everything. Okay. Which qualifications do you think is most important? At least a 3.5 GPA in one of the disciplines and a 3.0 in the other, and at least a 70% interview score. Oh, and I guess, and at least a good reference. Why did I capitalize that? Least important? Reference. 1? Interview score, I suppose. No, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. Probably science, honestly. I prefer that one. For science? Um, 3.0, based on my criteria. Sure. Why would you use the rule to select? Why would you use? Wait, we would like you to use your rule to select candidates. You will begin with 4 more practice trials. Your rule will be presented at the top of the screen. Please use your rule Please use your rule, be consistent in your decision making. Okay. Reject. Too low GPA. Okay, this one's just on there. Just barely made it. 70. Nope. Too low interview. Reject you as well. Interview. It's not. I have to use the one rule I chose. I can't use the other one. So it's telling me to be balanced, but then it's telling me not to be balanced anymore. This doesn't make any sense. Let's go. Next, you will be exposed to the applicants. They will be presented one at a time, very briefly, so it's the same thing as before. Oh, wait. Oh, after this brief presentation, you will go through them one at a time to accept and reject. Okay, I'm going to use my full rule, because I don't care what this thing says. Okay, E versus I. These guys are so awkward. They don't know how to fake a Dutchine smile yet. Okay, some of them did. She didn't. He didn't. Oof. Why are these... I'm not going to be mean. They look so weird. No, I bet I could be friends with some of these people. One of them looked like one of my old friends. Why are they all white? Like, seriously. Why are they all white? What's the point of this? Is this my ginger bias? Okay. 64 applicants. Oh no. I'm not gonna succeed in this. This is gonna okay. I'm not gonna succeed in this. I'm gonna fail this one. Okay. E is for reject. I is for accept. Let's go. Let us accept this one because he is good. This person is also good. This one is not good. This one is good. This one is good. This one is also good. This one is good. Not good. Not good. Good. Not good. Good. And good. Not good. Ooh, this one's too bad for your interview score. Good. 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 So sorry. Sorry about that. So close. Okay, you're good. You're good. Nope, you missed it. Oh, wow, that one was a good one. You're good. You're good. You made it. You made it. You made it. You made it. Oh, just barely. That was the guy that looked like one of my friends. Oh no! That one was supposed to be rejected. Okay. You made it. Rejected. You get in. You get in. You don't get in. I'm sorry. You get in. And you get in. And you get in. You get in. You don't get in. You get in. That one was actually, I accidentally rejected that one. I'm sorry. Well, 'tis life. Rejected. Rejected. I'm sorry. Sorry about this, but you're rejected. You're accepted. You are rejected. You are accepted. Sorry about that. You're accepted. You are not accepted. Not accepted. You're accepted. You're not accepted. You're not accepted. Looks like you guys are just barely scraping by. Accepted. Not accepted. Okay. Oh, nice. We're done. I failed that one. I apologize, guys. Okay. I'll have to answer some questions about my performance on the task and my attitudes. I honestly don't know what this one was supposed to be. Oh, this one was physically attractive? I looked a little bit at the pictures. Honestly, there were a couple of them where I was like, I want you to get in, but also that would be screwed up, so I didn't. I'm pretty sure I was equal about this. I'm pretty sure. The only issue is I had more rules that they didn't let me follow. Okay, we are studying how people use information like physical attractiveness to inform their decisions. You completed a task called the judgment bias task. It's the same thing. You made in the JBT, you made accept or reject decisions on a number of applicants and were told to accept half of them. The pool had candidates with slightly better and worse credentials. Within these more or less qualified groups, half were accompanied by photos rated by previous participants as physically attractive, half with photos rated as relatively less attractive. With the qualification information, we can estimate whether decision makers are equally likely to accept a more or less physically attractive candidate with the same credentials. Do you think attractiveness influenced your judgment? Honestly, it almost did in a couple of instances there. It was like, I think there was one or two girls where I was like, I want you to get in. But I can't remember. I can't remember what I chose for them. It is not so easy to tell what is influencing judgment when we have to make lots of decisions with complicated information. Efforts to be accurate or fair may not be enough to override a pre-existing bias favoring one quality compared to another. Alternatively, decision makers may overcorrect. So this is the same thing as was before. How did I do? When applicants were more qualified, you correctly accepted 11 of the applicants that were more physically attractive, and correctly accepted 11 of the applicants that were less physically attractive. When applicants were less qualified, you correctly rejected 8 of the applicants that were more physically attractive and correctly rejected 8 of the applicants that were less physically attractive. So I did pretty good. I really wonder how this is going to go into their system. I'm sure like thousands of people have gone through this, and so my data is not going to affect it all that much. But yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. It's already been an hour. See what I'm saying? This stuff takes a while. Let's do. I want to do one more, but I think they're just like randomly choosing them. Those were the judgment bias ones, not the implicit association test. I really want to show you guys an implicit association test one. Okay. Okay, the experiment requires your active participation and focus, and some may find it challenging or even boring. If you are up for the challenge, we would be delighted for you to participate. In this case, please click the continue button at the bottom of this box. However, if you prefer not to participate in this type of study at this time, or are in an environment that does not allow you to fully concentrate, please start a different study by clicking here. I don't know what the study is going to be. Social learning and memory. Ooh. Principal investigator. The person who is responsible for this research is Benedict Curdy. it gives me his address. Whoops. Okay. These are all the same things. I don't know. Well, you guys get how this stuff works now. It's definitely not foolproof. And I really want to show you an implicit association test. Hopefully this is it, but this is probably the last one I'm going to be doing. So let's complete this with my full attention. Oh, whoops. I will complete this study with my full attention. During the study, sometimes you will be able to move on to the next page by clicking continue. At other times, the page will change automatically. This is necessary in order to make sure that everyone reads the instructions for the same amount of time. If you don't see a continue button at the bottom of the screen, just keep reading the instructions carefully until the page changes. No page will be displayed for more than 30 seconds. In this experiment, you will see two people and two sets of line drawings. Each person will be paired with a type of line drawing. You will be given many trials to help you learn this association. Okay, two people and two sets of line drawings. I have to pair them with a line drawing. Okay, category 1. Smile, frowny, afraid. Oh, category 2. I didn't look at category 2 in the first one. Okay, so sad versus happy. The two sets of line drawings and the two people will be paired with each other for a particular reason. As you watch the pairings, please reflect on this reason. The specific reason will be revealed to you after each pairing. For example, if you see is caused by after a pairing, this means that the type of line drawing is caused by the person. And if you see is prevented by after a pairing, okay, whatever. After you press continue, sit back and watch the pairings. As you watch, please pay attention because you will need this information later. This part of the study will take no more than 4 minutes to complete. Okay. Candy is the same as heart, frown is the same as ant, smile is the same as ant is the same as smile. Frown smile is the same as, or sad smile is the same as yawn mouth is the same as flower smile is the same as yell running serious face is the same as. Is this a memory game? Oh no, this is a memory game, isn't it? I didn't know this rule. This is going to be horrible. Happy, scared face is the same as happy smile face. I don't get this at all. It's the same as heart smile face is the same as skull frown face. It's the same as yell run frown face is the same as ant happy face is the same as lollipop serious face is the same as frown serious face is the same as frown goofy face is the same as skull fearful face is the same as yawn scared face is the same as teddy bear determined face is the same as, or is that frown? Flower scared face is the same as heart determined face / frown is the same as lollipop scared face is the same as Happy face is the same as. Crying happy face is the same as. Flower serious face is the same as. Teddy bear happy face is the same as. Yelling, running happy face is the same as. Skull and crossbone serious face is the same as. Ant determined face is the same as. Yawning determined face or angry face is the same as. Happy face determined face is the same as. Yelling, running, scared face is the same as. Ant happy face is the same as. Flower scared face is the same as. Skull and bones happy face is the same as. That's a devious face though, isn't it? Heart serious face is the same as. Teddy bear happy face is the same as. Sad face serious face is the same. Is this a psychological priming test? Lollipop happy face, because I'm feeling that a little bit is the same as. Oh, I believe that this person is marvelous. What? Is that what is this? I don't know. I don't know about this person either. Is excellent? Maybe. Is negative? Is good? I mean, there were a couple times when they were smiling at a crying baby, this person in particular, but I don't feel anything towards these people, so I don't know. It really didn't do anything for me. I have to determine whether these people are miserable or good or awful or pleasant, but or painful. This didn't do anything painful. Why? Is there more to this? Okay. You'll be presented with a set of words to evaluate as either good or bad. This task requires that you classify the words as quickly as you can while making as few mistakes. Oh, okay. That was a primer to get my answers, my explicit biases, which are all entirely neutral, to help me determine or help them determine how that affects or changes in my implicit biases with this implicit association test. This is an implicit association test, from what I can tell, so that's good. You guys can see it. The task takes about 5 minutes, and this is how it works. This task requires that you classify the words as quickly as you can while making as few mistakes as possible. And I'm going to evaluate as either good or bad these words. And then the next one will probably be faces. Okay. So put your middle or index fingers on the E and the I keys of your keyboard. Pairs of items, images, and words will appear one after another. For each pair of item, ignore the first item and categorize the second item as good or bad. When the second item you see belongs to the category bad, press E. When the item belongs to the category good, press I. If you make an error, an X will appear. This is a timed sorting task. Go as fast as you can while making as few mistakes as possible. Okay, E is bad. I is good. Let's go. Bad. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Good. Bad. Bad. good, good, bad, literally, good, literally, bad, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, 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 bad, 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 good, good, bad, 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 good, good, bad, good, good, bad, good, good, bad, 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 good, bad, good, bad, bad, good, good, bad, good, bad, bad, good, good, bad, bad, good, bad, good. Okay. Press space to continue with the same task. Ignore the first item and categorize the second item. Press E if the second item is bad. Press I if the second item is good. Okay, round 2 of 3. There are 3 of these. I is good, E is bad. Okay, cool. Bad. Bad. Good. Good. Bad. I messed up. Good. Bad. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. 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 Bad. 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 Good. 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 Bad. 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 Good. 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 Bad. Bad. Good. Bad. Bad. Good. Good. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Good. Bad. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Bad. Bad. Good. Bad. Good. Good. Bad. Bad. Good. Okay. This task can be a little exhausting. I honestly, at the beginning of that one, I was a bit exhausted, but then I got back into the groove of it. Try to challenge yourself to respond as quickly as you can without making mistakes. Press space for the final round. Okay, then I'm going to learn about my implicit biases. Oh, good, good, bad, 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 good, bad, good, bad, bad, good, good, good. Oh, that's good too. Bad, bad, good. Oh, bad, good, bad, good, good, bad, bad, good, bad, bad, good, bad, bad, good, good. Oh, I messed that one up. Bad, bad, good, bad, bad, good, 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 bad, good, bad, good, bad, bad, good, bad, bad, good, good, bad. Oh, so bad. Good. Oh, I messed that one up too. Good. Bad. Oh, I messed that one up. Man, I'm tired now. Good. Okay. Okay, what are my biases? Earlier in this study, what type of line drawing was this person paired with? Both? Weren't they? No, wait, this one was paired with good ones. This one was paired with bad ones. What did you learn about the relationship between the two sets of line drawings and the two people? That the two sets of line drawings are the same as the two people, that the two sets of line drawings are the opposite of the two people. I didn't learn anything about how they were related. I have completed the study. When you click continue, you will be debriefed on what the study was about. You will also see the results of the implicit measure that you completed. What are my implicit biases? Okay. This is an evaluative priming task. So, disclaimer, these results are not a definitive assessment of your implicit preferences. So this is basically what I said before. For negative CS, what is CS? Okay. The results, okay, so your data suggests automatic preference for negative CS over positive CS. I don't know what CS is. That's bogus. I want to know what CS is. The results may be influenced by variables related to the test, like items used on the EPT or the person, how tired I am. The results are provided for educational purposes only. Any single EPT is unlikely to predict behavior well for a specific individual. In the aggregate, the EPT can predict behaviors such as discrimination in hiring and promotion, medical treatment, and decisions related to criminal justice. Now that's the issue here, is this test is actually not, or let's say those conclusions are not based on the test itself, but the test is based on the conclusions, which is one of the issues with the way that this research is done. They have the conclusions, and then they do the tests to see if there's some sort of potential statistical anomaly going in the direction of the conclusions, and then they select for the statistics that say what they want it to say. And that's what this is saying. EPT can predict behaviors such as discrimination in hiring and promotion, medical treatment, and the like. Those studies existed before these implicit bias tests existed, which means most likely that as the researchers knew about those studies, they began trying to figure out why these existed, and they began coming up with this idea of implicit bias, and then they created a test to potentially study these implicit biases. When it says the results may be influenced by, or they're not definitive assessment of your implicit preferences, the issue that has in relation to the last sentence, any single EPT is unlikely to predict behavior well for a specific individual. Compared to the last, in the aggregate, the EPT can predict behavior such as discrimination in hiring and promotion, etc. Is that if you do not test the one person accurately, how are you saying anything accurate about the statistical level of things? Where, like, if it doesn't accurately depict one person or one point of data, how is the large number of points of data going to tell you anything about the trends? It doesn't, because if the measurement is faulty, then the data is faulty. And if the data is faulty, then the conclusions based on the data is faulty. What was this study about? In this study, we are exploring how implicit attitudes change. Specifically, we want to know whether they change in response to associative information, pairings of targets with good and bad things, propositional information, verbal instructions about such pairings, and a combination of the two. Now, let's bring out some confounding variables. Certain people are much more suggestible than others, meaning this test probably might affect certain people a lot more than others. Additionally, so based on that, it is pretty much a test about how likely somebody is to change their mind about something based on, let's say, what were those things called? Subliminal messages. How likely is somebody going to change their mind in one direction or another based on subliminal messages? And what the research has found is very unlikely. People do not change their mind about objects or behavior based on subliminal messages very often. And so this test, being something that is basically testing whether or not somebody changes their mind based on subliminal messages, is basically testing something that we already know the answer to. It doesn't. People don't change their mind based on those things. It still doesn't tell me what CS means. Okay, how is the study conducted? The study consists of a learning phase and a test phase. In the learning phase, you were randomly assigned to one of four conditions. Control condition. In this condition, you completed the AMP immediately without any prior learning. Associative condition. In this condition, you watched pairings of two targets, for instance, shapes of two colors, with good and bad stimuli, images or words. Propositional same condition. In this condition, you were told that the targets and the good and bad stimuli with which they were paired are the same, equivalent, or similar. Propositional opposite condition. In this condition, you were told that the targets and the good and bad stimuli with which they were paired are the different, the opposite, or dissimilar. In the test phase, okay, so I was in the propositional same condition. In the test phase, you were asked to complete an evaluative priming task, which measured your automatic implicit attitudes toward the two targets that you encountered in the learning phase. On the EPT, we tested a psychological phenomenon called priming. So one of the things that I was guessing at when we were doing this test. The automatic influence of mental concepts on judgment. You were asked to categorize positive and negative words to the categories good and bad before each of the words appeared. You saw stimuli that you had learned about earlier, like faces of two people. The stimuli that appeared before the words you were categorizing are called primes. Previous research found that people tend to categorize positive words faster when they are preceded by positive primes than when they are preceded by negative primes, and vice versa for the categorization of negative words. Importantly, the results on the EPT, like the speed of categorization of good and bad words preceded by different primes, is often interpreted as people's automatic preferences of one of the prime categories relative to the other category. Meaning, I like skull and crossbones. I have an automatic preference for skull and crossbones than flowers, I guess, is what they're saying. Importantly, the results on the EPT, the speed of categorization of good and bad preceded by different primes, is often interpreted as people's automatic preferences of one of the prime categories relative to the other category. We also asked you to complete some questionnaire measures to see whether your explicit self-report attitudes and implicit attitudes behaved similarly or differently. What was the hypothesis? Based on previous work, we expected that both implicit and explicit attitudes would shift in response to a combination of associative and propositional information. Why is this study important? This project is important because it explores how implicit attitudes towards social groups can change. What? Where did that come from? Therefore, this study teaches us about how the implicit system of the mind works and may also help us design more effective anti-bias interventions in the future. Okay. I have no idea where social groups, how that, I guess that's tangentially related to the idea of whether or not I have an automatic preference towards negative or positive stimuli. Oh, CS is conditioned stimulus. Okay. So I have an automatic preference of negative conditioned stimuli over positive conditioned stimuli. Based on the, okay, so the assumption here is that if we can get people, that's what the whole point of this study is, to, based on previous work, we expected that both implicit and explicit attitudes would shift in response to a combination of associative and propositional information, meaning if you introduce a conditioned stimulus to a person, then their association of one person versus another person will shift in response to the conditioned stimuli. So your unconditioned response to a conditioned stimuli will be a conditioned response. So your association will shift. Meaning what they're trying to do is they're trying to see if this conditioned stimuli and conditioned response can shift people's attitudes towards social groups. So like if you have a bias against black people or a bias against white people or whatever, and then they perform this test on somebody, can they get your unconditioned bias to become a conditioned bias, meaning it'll move from your unconditioned bias to some other bias that they can manipulate or whatever. So that seems to be what they're trying to do. Anyway, that was interesting. I don't know if I buy it, but we'll see. That one's a bit more just based on behavioral theory, I suppose. So, like classic behaviorism. So anyway, or classical conditioning. So anyway, yeah, that was fun. If you guys want to find out what your implicit biases are, go to projectimplicit.org, I believe. I'll put the link down in the description. So, yeah, have a good day. Bye.